Hello, Unabridged Gamer here. Yes, guy who keeps asking in the comments section, Hoguru is healthy and safe at an undisclosed location and totally not on a secret mission to stop Foxhound. Don't worry, he's still making time for streams as he's able. Now let's talk trailers. Since we last checked in on Supermassive Games YouTube channel, there have been 2 Devil in Me trailers. The first for Halloween, and then a character reveal. Obviously, we're going to go over them in order. The Halloween trailer starts with the crew setting up a shot on the dock so that Kate can introduce the location. We don't actually see the shoot, but it's cute to see Aaron using a reflector to throw more light onto Kate when the sky is 100% overcast and there's a thick fog all around. You're really putting a lot of faith into that reflector, aren't you, Aaron? We get some ominous shots of them being watched and the keep out sign with the previously released dialogue about Dumais playing over it, then some intriguing new shots. Here's Charlie walking to the freezer where the Charlie freezes to death scene likely takes place. Note all the hanging pig corpses. Does the hotel's cooking staff do all of its butchering on site rather than just ordering meat? Seems like a good practice for a serial killer, or does the killer have some additional use for pig parts? Will the crew wind up covered in gore and guts at some point? Was that pig blood in the blood trail chapter? This shot of the crematorium is pretty creepy, especially since Dumais is putting in no effort to tidy the place up. Is that just a grate on the ground, which Charlie might be able to duck into, or rollers to shift something through that secret door at the end of the room? The killer's bank of monitors is always a nice touch. Haven't seen one of these in a Supermassive game since Josh's Lair and Until Dawn. I know that it would require an absurd amount of time and resources to not have this control board be a flat texture, and there's no conceivably financial justification for actually making a model of it with moving parts, but it still makes me just a little sad. Here's that Aaron gets cornered by Dumais sequence, which is a rare scene that's even more effective in the game than it is when used in the trailer. It's followed by Kate saying something super silly, that the killers they cover always have a weakness. Are you doing a show about werewolves and vampires, Kate? Because serial killers tend to not have easy ways to get away from them. Unless, they get so lazy with the detail work that they don't notice that they're using frayed ropes and worn shackles and people just bust loose, which has actually happened a few times. Somehow, I don't think that lack of attention to detail will be a flaw of Dumais'. Seriously though, if Dumais wants to focus on a specific one of them, it's possible that they can use that person as bait. Or maybe, Norman Bates style, you can confuse him with a particularly meaningful corpse. This shot confirms that the slats on the ground were grates and not rollers, since one of them seems to have popped up, revealing the lighter mannequin. Maybe there will be a chance to duck down there after all. We've got some closing walls, Charlie being threatened in the blood trails scene, the chair corpse again, based on the placement by those windows. Is this the POV that was looking at the boats at the beginning of the video? Was that a trick to make us think that this person was alive, but it's actually the aforementioned meaningful corpse? Is Jamie a contender for the best character? I love watching her smack her own mannequin with the wine bottle and then perhaps knocking out what looks like a camera eye. Although it might be someone else doing that, I can't make out whether there's an eye missing from the mannequin here. Seriously, did all of the show's crew members bring exactly 2 identical outfits? The backup baseball cap and extra glasses I get, but it's weird that Dumais has perfect replica costumes for everyone's mannequin in the dinner scene. That's a lot of blood around Mark's mouth and what looks like the airtight room that Aaron and Kate were in. Can different characters wind up suffocating here depending on the choices the players made? Or is he coughing up blood because he was poisoned? Is this a gas chamber? Back to the crematorium where, yes, Charlie is attempting to lift up the grate to get out of the way of the flames. He's having a rough time of it. Maybe he needed to get a tool earlier to help him with this. There is an inventory system after all. Phonograph! While someone reads The Last Wishes of H.H. Holmes, we see Jamie getting crushed by a shiny metal wall, possibly in the same area Mark was coughing up blood in, and then Mark trapped behind a grate watching something. This was a picture featured in the opening credits of House of Ashes, if you'll recall. Then Jamie's arm is pinned to a wall by a knife? Her own screwdriver? Perhaps that Spike from the sound recorder? Heavy metal doors with blue and red lighting, Mark in that metal room, looking dazed, perhaps just waking up from being drugged. Here, the arrival of Kate and Mark at the dinner scene. Please let one or both of them comment on how racist it is that all the mannequins have hair other than the 2 black people. Now, some seriously rapid fire images. Kate in the suffocation chamber, Jamie fighting Dumais in the hallways, Kate strapped to a chair with tubes sending something up her nose from a canister, Kate falling off a precipice into the courtyard, possibly during the fight that we saw in the interviews. Charlie looking at the aftermath of the scything, Charlie and Jamie getting trapped, Mark and Jamie falling down the trapdoor, and a great scream from Aaron before the title screen pops up. We get a cute line from Jamie to wrap things up, then our best look yet at the corpse in the wheelchair. This is a few quick shots, but from what we see, we can tell that it might not actually be a corpse, at least an unmodified one. This is slightly confusing, but it starts with a linen dress buttoned up and some wires leading into it. Then we get a close-up where the shirt has been opened, revealing a metal panel that has been installed in the chest, with a door swung open to reveal that the wires go to a beating heart. Human or pig, we can't say for sure. There seems to be some red flesh of a chest cavity behind the heart. So this could easily be one of Dumay's human animatronics like the Sherman corpse. Then we get blood around the neck as if this is someone with a recently slashed throat, or has been painted to look like one. Although the skin looks more like an attempt to depict an actual person rather than one of the mannequins we've seen. Although that's always tough to judge with computer graphics. The big takeaway from these shots is that the corpse looks really fresh with a normal, not at all decomposed skin tone, so whoever has been turned into this strange wheelchair-bound display with the gaping open mouth and overlaced heart, they're a recent acquisition to the collection. That's the end, and I've got to say, excellent choice for a Halloween video. Brutal and gruesome as hell. Well worth the wait. Next up is the character introduction trailer, where we get everyone's last names confirmed. Also, gameplay footage. It starts with some well-established lines and shots from other trailers and bonus material, but then we get this creepy shot of Kate standing in the doorway with a room full of Holmes statues behind her, only for one of them to start moving. And now the character intros start. Charlie Lene has the cigarette scene from the preview, followed by a super interesting edit that in an attempting to get out of the locked freezer room, he'll be dropped via a trapdoor into the crematorium. From freezing solid to burned alive. Nothing else, you can't say Dumay lacks a twisted sense of humor. Or at least the editors of this video do if these locations turn out to have nothing to do with one another. Given the amount of shots of this grating coming up, I'm a little ashamed to have ever suggested that it was rollers. Speaking of, in this shot, Charlie's screaming while lit by orange flames, but there's shadows from the grating slats on him, suggesting that he can in fact get under the floor somehow. Will that be enough to save him? He seems to be in a lot of pain here with his clothes starting to smoke. The Kate Wilder shot offers some scenes with her and Mark, or Aaron, and then a bit of her in the stables being stalked by Dumay wielding an axe. It's showdown time. Then we get a different angle on the Kate goes off the roof shot from the previous video. We've seen her attempting to hide in a locker on the roof in other videos. Will this be the outcome if she fails to do a good enough job of hiding? The Mark Nestor footage starts with him trying to turn on the power in what seems to be the lighthouse and winding up electrocuted. Signaling for help seemed like such a good idea too. Then there's the hiding in the morgue sequence that was revealed in some of the earliest footage, followed by Mark in a two-story room with carefully plastic-wrapped corpses hanging from the ceiling. I'd assumed that because of the crematorium, Dumay was getting rid of the bodies via burning. How many corpses are left in this house? Based on the metal autopsy tables in the background, this is likely right next to the morgue, which makes sense from a storage standpoint, even if I'm confused by the motive for keeping corpses at all. Then we see Mark getting chloroformed, which could be the precursor event that comes before he wakes up groggy in the middle room from earlier. Next up is Jamie Tiergan, who the video suggests will be the one to find the interrogation room tableau, with our best footage yet of the Manny Sherman animatronic. Wow, how did I not notice until just now that the guy's first name is Manny and he was turned into a mannequin? Oof. We then see her in some rooms with red lighting, and given the walls, this could likely be the basement or service area. Then we see some old footage of her triggering the blackout, and her and Charlie getting into the scythe room, along with some new footage of her jumping off the roof in the rain. This might be another failed at hiding attempt, with her getting axed to death if the player fails at keep calm minigame while ducking in this room. Got to say, I'm a little disappointed in Dumay. Going to all the trouble of building an elaborate murder hotel full of death traps, and you just wind up killing people with an axe? That's weak. You're not committing to the whole thing. Stay to your shtick. If you're gonna be Jigsaw, be Jigsaw. Finally, we get Erin Keyman, and this first shot of her reveals that she was wearing a necklace with an E on the whole time. Neat. The video establishes her asthma, shows us the Dumay darkroom scene, but sadly that's it. Then it's back to the quick cuts. People fleeing, Kate doing the hiding on the roof sequence, Dumay walking past a boarded up window with what might be another body in the foreground. Finally, we get a good look at the tiny room that the drugged Mark is moved into, which it turns out is also the room with the chicken wire he sees something horrifying through. Here's Aaron dying in the suffocation room, the killer flipping a switch, Kate falling, possibly off the roof or perhaps the stables, into the garden maze area, shoes and legs from a hanging body, no idea if it's real or another mannequin like the one that drops to scare Aaron, Jamie and Charlie wandering into the freezer while the audio mentions the suggestion of a big final twist, and then a climactic scene of the gang fleeing a room with the wheelchair corpse in it. Mark takes a dramatic look back, but we don't see what he sees, sadly. From what we can tell based on the hair and skin, this is probably a white lady, maybe on the older side. So this being a Norma Bates situation isn't entirely ruled out just yet. Then, finally, we get a shot of Dumay going to his workstation while the curator calls cut and announces that this is a wrap. Is this the first moment of the final check-ins with him at the end of the game? That seems likely. No final footage after the title this time, sadly. Another solid trailer offering some interesting footage. Again, I'm kind of blown away by the huge number of maps and visual variety between them. This hotel is going to be a great location to explore, and I'm sure it will provide amazing fodder for the Switchback level based on it. Time to start getting extremely excited for Devil in Me, as if we weren't already. For more fiendish finds, be sure to subscribe to the Hidden Object Guru and Unabridged Gamer.